Gates open at Arapahoe Park. Actually, let's start before the gates open at Arapahoe Park and look at how the track is prepared for racing. Arapahoe Park is a 1-mile dirt oval, similar in shape and distance to most racetracks in the United States. It may be the most scientific specimen of dirt in sports. It requires constant care, similar to a baseball diamond, and Mother Nature doesn't always play along. We're showing you the behind the scenes of horse racing and some of sport's most majestic athletes. So get a leg up, come on to the track, and be ready for the start, because the horses are at the post. Welcome to a behind-the-scenes look of horse racing. I'm Jonathan Horowitz, the announcer at Arapahoe Park. Horse racing takes place on various surfaces. Think tennis Grand Slams, where Wimbledon is on grass, the French Open on clay, and the US and Australian Opens on hard court. Most horse race tracks in the United States are dirt surfaces, including the one at Arapahoe Park. Some American race courses also have separate turf tracks. That's actually the most common racing surface in the rest of the world. And recently, some racetracks have adopted synthetic courses that handle changes in weather better. Think artificial turf for football. Similar to what you see in tennis, horses specialize on different surfaces. But some, such as Colorado-bred star Get Happy Mister or 2014 Kentucky Derby winner California Chrome, are versatile enough to win stakes races on dirt and turf. And when it comes to dirt surfaces, no two are alike either. Arapahoe Park General Manager Bruce Seymour and I walked the track on opening weekend to take a closer look at what Arapahoe Park has to do to prepare the track for racing. We're on the racetrack at Arapahoe Park. The racetrack at Arapahoe Park is a 1-mile oval, and it takes a lot to prepare the racetrack for each day's races, similar to preparing a baseball field for a game or perhaps preparing the tennis courts at Roland Garros for the French Open. And I'm joined by Bruce Seymour, the general manager at Arapahoe Park, who has a history building racetracks all over the United States, having been a track superintendent. What does the track superintendent do to prepare the racetrack for each day's races?
Well, really, it's kind of a specialty field. Billy Byers, who's the track superintendent, can't be with us now because Mother Nature's not being kind to us, so he has things he has to do. And basically, a racetrack superintendent has to control moisture. If you really want to simplify it, you want to keep moisture in or keep moisture out. And if you can do that, you can come up with an optimum racing surface. What we look at when we're putting the surface together is to try to keep a safe and uniform surface everywhere. So if it's hard everywhere, it's soft everywhere, it's consistent. What we do here at Arapahoe is we go with 3 inches of cushion, which is the loose part that's on top. And the reason that we use 3 inches, if you measure a horse's hoof from the toe to the heel, it's 3 inches. So that way, in the bottom of a horse's hoof, the only shock absorber they have is the frog that's on the bottom of the foot. So it kind of spreads. So we give them a nice 3-inch cushion. The material itself that we have here at Arapahoe, as you can see, is kind of nasty on us today, so we kind of seal it. We're trying to get the water out of it, trying to keep the water from in the bottom from coming up. What we have here at Arapahoe, we kind of put the horse first and we back into it. And by doing that, if you have a uniform safe surface that the horse is comfortable on, the jockey's comfortable on it. If the jockey's comfortable, then the trainer's happy. If the trainer's happy, the owner's happy. And by that, the wagering public has confidence that everything is on the up and up and that it's a safe surface for all the horses that are out here. So here at Arapahoe, what we have is basically a one material racetrack. Down about 8 inches from where we're standing is a decomposed granite base, which is a solid foundation, and from that up, the entire material is made out of the same material all the way down. Now we do compact it down to where it's about 6 inches compacted on top of the decomposed granite, and then we have this material on the top that we manipulate to try to make a safe and uniform surface.
Now let's take a look at the surface and what am I holding here? This isn't beach sand.
No, it's not beach sand, but what we found here in Denver is a modified sand. The open air 40 is what we've used in the past, and this year we found something else. What you want is a material that will hold so when the horse comes out, he can grab it. If it doesn't, it's called cupping, and it comes from the term of taking an actual teacup, putting material in it, and it'll stick. And with this one, you can see it'll break nicely. And it's basically made up of sand, clay, and loam. Heavier sand here than other places because we are in a high arid desert, so we try to create a material that'll hold moisture more so than get rid of it, but then also be to where it can be manipulated to where it's a safe surface so we don't have to worry about the horses for the day.
Gates Open at Arapahoe Park is presented by the His Highness Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan Global Arabian Horse Flat Racing Festival.
On the edge of glory in the Waspa Stud Farm Cup, and Breezal LZP with Carlo Lopez looking over the shoulder for the competition that hasn't emerged yet.
With races in 11 countries, the Waspa Stud Farm Cup will be held at Arapahoe Park on May 24th, July 5th, and August 9th. Behind the growth of horse racing in Colorado, the Colorado Horse Racing Association, the Colorado Thoroughbred Breeders Association, the Rocky Mountain Quarter Horse Association, Colorado Owners and Breeders of Racing Arabians, Cantor, Colorado, finding new homes for retired racehorses. Now, with horse racing, unlike baseball or tennis, we play in the rain, and especially in Colorado, as crazy as the weather can be, the racetrack has to be able to handle all differences in weather. So on a day like today, which is especially a challenge for our track superintendent, Billy Byers, who does a fantastic job, what does he have to do to combat the weather?
You know, what we did today is we allowed training to happen this morning because we like doing that, because then we see if we have a problem. By all of the horses that come out here. We'll have 300 or 400 horses out here this morning, 75 different opinions of people that are exercising ponying horses to tell you you have an issue, you don't have an issue, everything's fine. So that's how we start. So with the rain that we had last night, the track was sealed, like you can see behind us, to kind of keep it out of here. He has a 5-man crew that he has, and he's not just responsible for that. I don't know if you can hear the noise behind us, but they're working on the paddock where the horses get saddled. So from the time they come out and during the races, his job today is to try to make the surface as uniform as he can, using all kinds of different things. And the equipment that we're going to use today is called a float, and it's a steel float. And what it does is, because of the decomposed granite underneath, when it comes over, it'll bring the water from the bottom. This track dries from the bottom up, not from the top down like everybody else's yard, baseball fields, those type of things. So he's going to use the float, and if you look at the float, which is made out of steel, there are a set of teeth in the front and a set of teeth in the back. The perfect thing I would hope for today is we're going to be allowed to drop the teeth in the back, but we're going to have to use the float all day today to kind of control the moisture that's in here.
And then we talked about how the racing surfaces prepare before the races, in between races, maybe like a Zamboni in hockey, what needs to be done from race to race.
There is, and it's a very good point. There's really two parts of being a racetrack superintendent. One is the conditioning of the racetrack, which we do before the races, and then you maintain it during the actual races. And we duplicate the conditions in both, so that the trainers and the jockeys know what to expect when they come out here. They kind of know what we have done. So what we got to do then, though, we do play it inning by inning, depending upon the weather. We have a pretty good wind right now. If I can have a 10-mile-an-hour wind, this track will dry fast, even if there's no sun. If the sun comes out, it'll kind of clay pot. But what we'll do all day long is to continue to bring the water from the bottom up to the top, and it makes it compact together to make what you can see before you, a big round brown.
And most children grew up playing in the dirt, but it does sound like your dirt was a little more special when you grew up. How did you get into racing, and how did you get into building racetracks around the country?
It really has. That's kind of where I started. My father was a racetrack superintendent at a track in southern Illinois for 30 years. He took a 2-week vacation, never came back. So I got kind of stuck in the role of doing that, and it just kind of progressed from there. To give you an idea too, my nephew, Kevin Seymour, is the track superintendent at Oakland Park. And I have built tracks in 7 different states. And Billy Byers, what makes a good track superintendent, was a race rider, comes from a family of racetrackers whose father was a jockey, grandfather was a jockey, cousin's a jockey, and horse trainers. And so they get a feel from not only what happens where we're standing, but also on the back of a horse and what to expect and what's optimum, what's not optimum, what's safe, what's not safe. And we also respect our jockey colony here at Arapahoe Park. They're a very good resource for us. They tell us if something's wrong and we try to fix it.
And you've built racetracks all over the country. For example, what are some of the tracks that you've built?
I have. I have built tracks in Illinois. I built Birmingham Turf Club, Prairie Meadows in Iowa. Did actual racing surfaces there. I actually worked too for Joe King, which just recently passed away, who was sort of the guru of racetrack superintendents for the New York Racing Association. Came to Illinois. I was the youngest track superintendent, not unlike you being the youngest announcer at one point, because those days are gone.
But I stayed a little cleaner.
Yes, you did. And so I worked with Joe King and did the inner track, at a New York racetrack, and worked for consulting for him and at Gulfstream and a few other places.
So are there differences well, there's dirt racing, there's grass racing, there's turf, there's synthetic racing, but from, say, our dirt track to the dirt at Churchill Downs, is there a difference?
A huge difference, a huge difference. And you see lately that people are trying to get into the synthetic track business, and it just hasn't really worked out. For dog tracks, horse tracks, all of it just hasn't worked out. But yeah, basically my theory and the philosophy I use is God made dirt in a certain geographic area. You need to try to amend that dirt to try to accommodate what conditions you have. The high arid desert soil we have here would not work at Churchill Downs. When I was at Suffolk Downs, it was an interesting place. I had a turf track and a dirt track, which are totally different maintenance-wise. But the dirt track there, the ocean and tides would go out about the middle of the card. So I would have to switch methods that I used halfway between the card to accommodate for the tide going out.
So when we see the horses running, there's so much more that goes into it than just putting the dirt on the track and having them go around, and a pleasure to hear you speak about it and hear you speak about the work that Billy Byers does here at Arapahoe Park. It sounds like it's a science. Do I have that right?
It is a science. What we do with the racing surface every year, we send it to a testing laboratory, and they take a look at it, and they do sieve tests and hydrometer tests, and they get into it and they come back and tell you what's wrong. And we use scientific terms like the natural acceleration of the swing phase of a horse's hoof. We look into that. Today you look at the full range of plasticity to see, is it sloppy, is it not sloppy, so that you can address them when people are handicapping up there, that they can handicap a sloppy track when there's water standing on it, just like a fast racetrack. Today, right now, what we're standing on, it's muddy. That's what we're going to call it. A muddy is between fast and between good, but it's not a heavy track, it's a muddy track. So we have different terms that we use for it, but it really isn't a science, not an exact science, but it is a science.
Well, sure, because you're dealing with all the conditions as well. Well, it's great to hear the explanation of how it all works, and congratulations on building a racetrack that really is respected and revered all over the country.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Live horse racing at Arapahoe Park takes place from May 22nd to August 16th on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays starting at 1 p.m.
Gates open, the Miles Massey Handicap is underway.
Keep up with the latest online at myhighracing.com, on Facebook at facebook.com/Arapahoe Racing, and on Twitter at JJ Horowitz.
Miss Dixie and Lil Rich Girl in a photo finish that goes to Miss Dixie, holding on by the narrowest of margins.
Like the moment of meditation that sometimes takes place in a locker room before a big sporting event, Miss Dixie sat quietly in her stall in Scott Powell's barn at Arapahoe Park on a sunny Sunday morning, June 14th. That afternoon, she would try to do something no horse had ever done in the history of Arapahoe Park: win the same stakes race 4 times in the Cobra Distaff Sprint sponsored by MKP Enterprises. One of the horses standing in her way was her next-door neighbor, Sand on Fire. A field of 7 competed in the Grade 3 stakes race for Arabian fillies and mares over 6 furlongs.
Gates open, the Cobra Distaff Sprint is underway, and not the best of starts for Miss Dixie, but now she's roused along by Carlo Lopez to be close to the early lead that is currently held by Ivory Shoes, and My Vaz is hot in between that pair. And then comes TM Madame in the turquoise silks in 4th, 4 lengths from the front, followed by Miss Paradise, Zell's Follies, and Sand on Fire will do her best running later, sitting last at the moment and 8 lengths off the lead past the half-mile pole, as Ivory Shoes leads by a length from Miss Dixie, the 3-time winner in this race, who had to take back momentarily. Now sits in 3rd place. Making up ground on the outside is TM Madame, and then comes My Vaz is Hot in 4th place. Sand on Fire out of last, passing Zell's Follies and Miss Paradise. They come to the quarter pole, and it's Ivory Shoes, the up-and-coming Arabian for Mark Powell, trying to spring the upset, but the champion ranges up alongside her. It's Miss Dixie who eyeballs Ivory Shoes and now takes the lead into the home stretch, racing to the final furlong, the race that Miss Dixie has won the last 3 years, and she comes to the Cobra Distaff sprint finish line, drawing clear in the closing stages. The first time in the history of Arapahoe Park that a horse has won the same stakes race 4 years in a row. It's Miss Dixie who goes on to win the 4th Cobra Distaff sprint for her over Sand on Fire, and a game Ivory Shoes in 3rd place, and a long gap then to TM Madame.
After the race, Miss Dixie was back in her stall for a post-game meal and celebrating with her connections, owner Lori Powell and husband trainer Scott Powell of the Quarter Moon Ranch. Her next race is scheduled for this Sunday in the Jerry Parton Cobra Sprint. It will be an all-star Arabian showdown that will include 3-time Darley Award champion Miss Dixie, former Horse of the Year So Big Is Better, and the Sky's the Limit Paddy's Day. So Big Is Better and Paddy's Day raced against each other on Saturday in the Arapahoe Park Arabian Sprint.
Gates open. The Arapahoe Park Arabian Sprint is underway. The Jet Sun goes to the lead from Paddy's Day. The Scott Powell trained runners close to the pace, with the Mark Powell trained runners next to him. So Big Is Better in 3rd on the inside of stablemate True Grit SA. And then comes Abbott together with his Mark Culo trained runner Stell's Bells towards the rear of the field, and then RB Rich and Doc Holliday last of all. So the way they're grouped, it's Scott Powell's runners 1, 2, then Mark Powell's 3rd and 4th, then Mark Culo's in 5th and 6th, and Elizabeth Brand's in 7th and 8th. They move into the far turn, and it's Paddy's Day who asserts for Carlo Lopez and comfortably grabs the lead from stablemate The Jet Sun, opens up a length and a half. 2013 Arabian Horse of the Year So Big Is Better making his move into 2nd. So you have the future of Arabian racing and the past of Arabian racing, 1, 2 past the quarter pole, and the rest of them are dropping back in the field as Paddy's Day turns for home, racing to the final furlong, 4 lengths in front of So Big Is Better, trying hard in 2nd place, and then comes the Jet Sun. But this is Paddy's Day's race, and he's pouring it on inside the final 100 yards. Back to Colorado where he made his debut, and now he's a true Arabian star. Carlo Lopez looks over the shoulder, couldn't have won it easier on Paddy's Day over So Big Is Better. RB Rich ran on for 3rd.
Entering the home stretch, Paddy's Day actually had his head cocked sideways, looking to the crowd and toying with the opposition. In the most thrilling race of the weekend, Rags to Riches Lady Gila, a former claiming horse, defended her title in the $40,000 Molly Brown Stakes for thoroughbred fillies and mares over 6 furlongs.
Warren's Puppy Love with the head turned sideways, gates open. The Molly Brown Stakes is underway, and a great beginning for defending champion Lady Gila, going to the lead from Stormquility, coming through to the inside, a half length behind Stratagem, a close-up 3rd. Warren's Puppy Love in 4th place. The gray and the green silks 2 lengths off the lead. Lady Contender, now rousted along by Brian Terrio, has ranged up from 5th all the way into 2nd, and the trailer is Oblivion as they head down the backstretch, and the 2 ladies are in front. It's Lady Gila showing them a clean pair of heels with a length and a half advantage from Lady Contender in 2nd place. Stormquility rides the rails in 3rd for Travis Wales, and then comes Oblivion running in between Warren's Puppy Love and Stratagem to the inside. They come towards the quarter pole, and defending champion Lady Gila races a length and a half in front of Lady Contender, her old rival, ranging up to the outside, and Stormquility to the inside. A thrilling stretch duel coming up as Stormquility cut the corner, now ranges up to Lady Gila and grabs the lead with Lady Contender not that far off in 3rd. It's Stormquility holding on. Lady Gila trying to fight back. back on the outside. Lady Gila getting her second win, lunging, lost the lead, regains it and wins. Lady Gila, another stakes win, and she has now won 6 in a row at Arapahoe Park. 2 Molly Brown stakes in a row, re-rallying over Storm Quillity, and then came Lady Contender final.
If you look up horses for courses in a dictionary of idioms, you'll probably find a picture of Lady Gila. She started her career at low claiming levels at Arapahoe, but 11 wins and 17 starts later, and she is now earning trophies for stakes races. This is Freeside. 10 years ago today, he ran in his first and his only race. Although it's not exactly a career you'd think to celebrate 10 years later. It was the 4th race at Arapahoe Park on June 18, 2005. There was some hope for the 3-year-old Dark Bay bred in Colorado because Freeside's older full sister, Black Sea, had been a stakes winner at Arapahoe Park in the 2002 Spicy Stakes. Freeside was sent off as a 21-1 long shot in his maiden debut at a distance of 5 1/2 furlongs. Unfortunately, no footage exists of Freeside's performance because you couldn't see Freeside. He broke last and finished last of 9, almost 50 lengths behind the winner. Freeside sustained an injury, and his racing career came to an end after it barely got out of the gate. But as one career ended, another began. Enter Teresa Snyder of Parker, Colorado. She began riding Freeside as a freshman in college at Colorado State University, and then bought the horse as a junior in 2012.
He already had begun the process from racehorse to more of a everyday type of horse. The people who had him trained for fox hunting, who actually just fox hunt down the road from here. And so they worked him, they gave him time off to heal from his injury and train him with a more relaxed mind that he doesn't have to go straight from a walk to full flat-out gallop and race everybody.
Teresa said the relationship between horse and rider was, quote, love at first sight. Full-time student, sorority, part-time job, and riding and training Freeside, Teresa has helped Freeside's new career by leaps and bounds, literally.
I took him home after graduation, and my best friend and I actually decided to train him further into it because he had the athleticism, he had the conformation, he had the mind and the heart.
Together, they ranked 6th in 2014 in the Colorado Hunter Jumper Association in the low training jumpers category, 3 feet 3 inches. In 2015, they are in the high training jumpers category, 3 feet 6 inches.
It feels like you're flying. To me, there is no other feeling than being able to go to that jump and know and trust that your horse is going to go over it with you. And then you really, when they rock back, you just feel like you're soaring and flying, especially when the jump gets bigger. It's that 1 second without being in an airplane. There's just so much adrenaline.
In March, Teresa and Freeside were finalists in the Colorado's Most Wanted Thoroughbred competition at the Rocky Mountain Horse Expo. The event showcased the new careers of retired racehorses.
Showing and promoting the breed, and it made me realize a lot that there are so many thoroughbreds out there that need homes, second careers.
10 years later, Freeside has come a long way. Teresa said about Freeside, he tries hard at everything and wants to understand. And all he asks of me is a carrot after lessons or a trail ride here and there to let his mind relax. That's Gates Open at Arapahoe Park, and until your next time out at the races, I'm Jonathan Horowitz. Keep picking winners.